is English 373, week 14, part 2. So what I'm going to do is so I just want to talk about a scene from a play that we didn't go over in class, a play called Much Ado About Nothing. Much Ado About Nothing is one of Shakespeare's best plays. It's a comedy. It's lighthearted and very fun. Um, there's two movie versions of it. One is done by with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson, and it's got Kate Beckinsale and Denzel Washington and Keanu Reeves, and it's very fun. And it's from the mid '90s, and I definitely recommend it. It was updated. There's another version of it that is a black and white version that is directed by Joss Whedon, who is very famous from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and recent sexual scandals. Turns out he's another one of those fucking assholes, man. There's a lot of that going around. Um, but I grew up on Joss Whedon, and I think he's cool, or I did anyway. But his movie version of Much Ado About Nothing is quite good, and I also recommend that. It's a very nice movie, and it's got some actors in it that you might recognize from television shows, but they're going to be more minor actors. Oh, the one you might know is one of the important dudes in the plot is played by Clark Gregg, who you probably know as Agent Coulson from all the Marvel movies. And there's some other fun actors that are in there. So, but it's a lovely little movie. But it's a relatively simple movie, I guess. It's basically like these noblemen go to this guy's house after they just won a very small war, um, and two of the characters, one of them, there's a character named Claudio, and he falls in love with the daughter of the guy that owns the house. Um, uh, and then there's this guy Benedict who is constantly fighting with this woman Beatrice. But we can tell, like they're gonna fall in love. Like they're bickering and they claim they hate each other, but they're obsessed with each other also, and they do end up falling in love and getting together at the end of the play, and it's cute. There's like one of the guys from the war, one of the bad guys from the war, is sort of taken prisoner home with them, and he ends up like causing a lot of problems, basically he convinces the newly in love guy that his wife is cheating on him, and his new wife is cheating on him, and he denounces her at the wedding, and they fake her death. But unlike Romeo and Juliet, it turns out nice this time, because then when he realizes she was innocent, he feels real bad, and it turns out she's still alive, and he can still marry her. Anyway, it's adorable. And the couple that bickers, Benedict and Beatrice, they bicker so much that basically they have to be tricked into falling in love. As sort of a drunken game, many of the characters decide they think these people it would be funny if they got together. So they basically trick them. They grab one of them and make it seem like the other one's in love, and then they grab the other one and make it seem like the first person's in love, and then they're like, wow, they're in love with me. Wow, they've been fighting with me because they're in love with me. Wow, they've been fighting with me because they're in love with me, and they both. And then it turns out they really do love each other, and it's a happy ending, and it's very sweet. What I want to talk about in Much Ado About Nothing is just one scene with some side characters. Um, the characters that cause the mischief and the problems, the ones that make it seem like someone is cheating, this guy's the woman this guy loves is cheating on him. They get caught by the police and interrogated by the police, and the police officers are idiots. They're comic characters who are huge dum dums, and it's just a comedy scene in which the two cops are just so brain dead stupid, like doofuses. They're comedy stupid, like Joey from Friends. Like they're just so dumb. Um, it can be slightly hard to understand why they're dumb because Shakespeare's English is a little tricky to learn. Um, and one of the things that makes them dumb is they frequently slip up and replace words with the opposite word. So they're trying to say something, but their vocabulary isn't very good, and so they flip it up and say the completely opposite word of the one they were trying to say. And so this results in a lot of comedy, but you can miss it because you might not notice that it's the wrong word because it's an old-fashioned word. Maybe you don't know what that word means or what the word was supposed to be. And that's what footnotes are for, and that's what I'm for. So I thought I would go through this scene of the dumb cops in Shakespeare because I think it's one of the cutest and nicest moments in Shakespeare, and I just really enjoy it. Also, it was a scene that I had seen other people do. I've seen it a couple of times. They did Much Ado About Nothing, by the way, at Shakespeare in the Park. It was a tremendous performance like 2 years ago. I don't know if you saw that. It was great. Um, But I've seen people do this scene, and this character is never impressed me. I never thought this was an interesting scene. I just thought it was stupid. It's particularly bad in the movie from 1990. It's a terrible, terrible scene with the cops. It's just It's just not funny. But when Joss Whedon did it, Nathan Fillion, who is from Firefly and Castle, um, he did such a good job that it transformed the scene for me. Like I went from thinking it was a complete waste of time to one of the best scenes in Shakespeare because he did such a good job. So um, after this video, I'm gonna put those videos so you can see the scene. It takes about 6 minutes to watch the whole scene. There's two scenes actually. So the first one is them interrogating the prisoners to find out, hey, these guys are bad people. They tricked this guy into thinking his wife was cheating on him, and of course they think that the woman died as a result of the shame, but the priest was just faking her death because he's exactly like Friar Lawrence from Romeo and Juliet. And then the next scene is these cops who are complete idiots trying to tell the guy that owns the house, whose daughter got shamed at her own wedding for cheating when she didn't do it. They try to explain to him that these are bad people, and because they're idiots, he doesn't listen to them. Um, and if only he listened to them, a lot of the trouble in the play would have been shut down. But they're so silly that he doesn't take them seriously. So I just kind of wanted to go over the scene of the cops being ridiculous, and it's just kind of a funny comic scene, and I thought it would just be fun to look at. So after this video, I will let that play. And you're not going to do this, but what I would recommend doing is watch the scene, listen to me analyze it, and then go back and watch the scene again, because I think it's going to be, actually, maybe I won't play the scenes. Maybe I'll go over the thing first. Yeah, maybe I'll go. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll play it after this. I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to play it now or later, but anyway, I'm just going to get started on this thing. So let's take a look. So the Dogberry and Verges, this is the cop, and this is like the assistant cop. And they are getting together, all the guys, for like the night watch. They're getting all the police officers who are going to like keep an eye on this area, and they're all huge dum-dums. Dogberry is the biggest dum-dum of them all, though. So he says, "Are you good men and true?" He wants to know if they're good people, these cops. And his partner says, "Yea, or else it were pity, but they should suffer salvation, body and soul." Salvation's the wrong word. The word he wants is the opposite of that, damnation. If they're not good, then they should suffer damnation. You don't suffer salvation. Salvation's good. Suffering is bad. It's the wrong word. Dogberry says, "Nay, that were a punishment too good for them if they should have any allegiance in them, being chosen for the prince's watch." Because they're like the official sort of police for the prince of the area. "Well, give them their charge, neighbor Dogberry," meaning tell them what they're supposed to do. "First, who think you the most desertless man to be constable?" The word they want here is deserving. Who's the most deserving to be in charge? Desertless means not deserving. So every time he speaks, he says the reverse of what he means because he's a dum-dum. So the first watchman says, "Hugh Oatcake, sir, or George C. Cole, for they can write and read." I think this is really funny that the only qualification for being a police officer is like, oh, well, they're smart enough to be able to write and read, so let's put them in charge. Okay, cool. And then he says, "Come hither, neighbor Seacole. God hath blessed you with a good name, to be well favored." God has blessed you with a good name, because he likes the guy's name. "To be a well favored man is the gift of fortune, but to write and read comes by nature." Again, he's gotten it backwards. You don't read it for something to come from nature means you're born with it. You're not born knowing how to write and read. To be well favored, meaning to have like a good face. That's something you're born with. He said He said the reverse of what he meant to say. He meant to say that having a good face comes by nature, but writing and reading comes from hard work. And he's flipped it up and said it the opposite way because he's a dum dum. Both which, Master Constable, I think he's about to explain to him that he got it wrong, but he cuts him off. You have. He's not listening to him because he's ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna pick this up in the next video, and we will continue looking at the scene. I promise it's funny and it's a good scene. I haven't gotten to any of the good bits yet, but we'll get there. I'll see you in the next video.